Hi, this is exercise number 5, Python variables. Today we will learn on how to create our own variables. Variables are containers for storing data and values, and unlike other programming language, Python has no command for declaring a variable. We simply assign a value to a variable and immediately Python will create the data type or the declaration of the variable for us. Let's try out one example. Um, this will execute an error because the variable hasn't existed yet, right? So in order for us to be able to print z, we need to create the variable first. Because we are using Jupyter Notebook, the sequence of executing each of the Python command um, does not it's not very important. All right, I can execute each cells, and then when I go up and execute the same cell again, Python will know the sequence by itself. So now the second cell, when I execute here, immediately Python will understand that I have created a string, okay, string x by using a typecasting. We will learn more about typecasting after this in our next exercises, okay. And the second one is also a string called resif, right? So this is um, a numbering value, but when I use typecasting, the data type of the x value will become a string. We can prove this by typing the type function, okay, in order to know the data type of the created variable. As you can see, both data type are string. If I remove the typecasting here, the numbering will become an integer. Strings are usually used for IDs or number that probably does not need to have any mathematical calculation in the future. However, if you want to change those values to other data type as an integer or a float, you can always use typecasting to change it back. Another example is to use the single quote and double quote to define string. In this case, a single quotation will be considered as the string itself, encapsulated by a double quote. When I print again the variable z earlier, now I can print the value of the variable z, which is Paul, with a single quote. However, if I inverted the single quote to a double quote, like this one, now I reassign the string to the variable z, the print value will look like this. So you have many options, alright? So this is another example of assigning an integer and string to different type of to the same variable, alright? So now the variable may only contain the value string because the last assignment of x is an assignment of string named Sally, alright, and it is replaced by the earlier assignment which is an integer 4. If I commented on this line, immediately the assignment will be 4 assigned to variable x. Let's continue with the next exercise. Okay, so this is another example, right? So you cannot use this symbol. So assignment is usually is assigned using the equal symbol. So the variable will be on the left side and the value that is assigned to it will be on the right side. In this case, I assign two different variables x and y with two different values 2 and 4, and I print it out using the print function. Let's look at the next exercise. Variable names. A variable can have a short name like x and y for a more descriptive name, for example, age, car name, or total value. However, there are several rules for Python variables that we must follow. A variable must start with a letter or the underscore character. A variable cannot start with a number, and a variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore. A variable names are case sensitive as H with all small letter, H with title case letter, and H with uppercase letter are three different variables. These are an example of all the legal variable names. And there's one example of legal variable names. I'll comment this part first before I run it again so that we can see how it goes. Immediately when I execute this example, there's no error that is produced by this example, showing that the legal variable names are accepted. While I remove this illegal variable name, it will produce some sort of error, right? But right now it's not, okay, because my and var is both assigned with a integer. However, when I um, assign this to a string, it will produce an error. Okay, you can't use something like this. Okay, it will also produce an error because the dash symbol is also a minus symbol that is used to do subtraction, right? So we will learn about the mathematical operation later in our next exercises. Remember that variable name are case sensitive, so different my var, all right, will print out different output. So my var, okay, so that's depending on the different assignment value, it will print out according to the correct variable that I type in. So you have to be very careful because the variable names are case sensitive. You can also do assignment value to multiple variable, something like this. So I have three different variable x, y, z, which is assigned by the value orange, banana, and cherry. And then you can also assign the same value to multiple variables in one line, something like this. X equals y equals z equals orange. Immediately, all x, y, and z will have or will carry the value orange. Output variable. The Python print method is often used to do output variable. Okay, to combine both text and a variable, Python used the plus character. It is something like concatenation. Okay, we combine two different variables to produce one long string. Okay, so this is one example. I have awesome, the string awesome assigned to the variable x, and when I printed out a string Python is plus the variable, it will print out the whole string Python is awesome. You can also use the plus character or the plus symbol to add a variable to another variable. something like this. So let's execute this one. Okay, so you have two different variable assigned to different string, which the first one is assigned with Python is, second one is assigned with awesome. And when I assign another variable that concatenates the two variable using the plus sign or symbol, it print out Python is awesome. For number, the plus character or plus symbol or plus sign works as a mathematical operator to do addition. So this is one example to it. So I assign two x and y variable to two different value 5 and 10. When I print x plus y, it will add up the two value. If you try to combine a string and a number, Python will give you an error. Okay, because it is of a different data type. So you need to do some sort of typecasting like this one, str. Then you can do the concatenation between the two values, right? Let's look at global variables. Global variables are variables created outside of a function, as in all of the examples above, are known as global variables. Global variables can be used by everyone both inside of function and outside. For example, if I create a variable outside of a function and use it inside the function like this, so for in this example, x is assigned with the string awesome, and I have a function with me. Okay, again, this is another exercise that I will explain later, explaining about how to create your own function. So basically, this is a function and this is its code block. By looking at its indentation, you know that the code block belongs to the definition of the function. So the function uses a variable x that is outside of the body of the function. So x is considered as a global variable. I have with me one example, okay, a definition of function my fun, which has a body of a print a string Mr. Razif is followed by the global variable y, which is global, right? So if I run my function, immediately it will say Mr. Razif is global, and when I change to x, it will say Mr. Razif is awesome. All right, next. This is a bit of explanation on a function. All right, so a function is like a mathematical function where you have parameters inside and you have the equation that you want to calculate in the body of the function, and then you will return that calculative value in one variable. So in this case, I've created variable k. All right, so if I run this, I have some sort of mathematical function that is sorry, should be because k is inside here, so k is a local variable, so I cannot access it, right? So in order to know the value, I have to print variable 1, right? So this is the answer of this particular mathematical equation with the parameter x as 2. Okay. If you create a variable with the same name inside the function, this function will be local and can only be used inside this function. So the global variable with the same name will remain as it was, global, and with the original value. See, in this example, I have two variable x, but the x outside the function is a global variable. However, the x inside the function itself is called a local variable. So when I execute this example, so let me copy this. I'll just replace this example with the one that I've copied. So two different variables here, x as awesome is printed as this one. So this is the global variable. Global, and this x is a local variable. Local. So when I print this particular x, it will take this value, and when I print this particular x, it will take outside of the function, thus having two different print value. One is Python is fantastic, the other one is Python is awesome. Let's look at the global keyword. What is a global keyword? Normally, when you create a variable inside a function, that variable is local and can only be used inside that function, as we have already tried previously. To create a global variable inside a function, you can use the global keyword. Right? So inside a function, a global keyword followed by a variable will make that particular variable considered as a global variable. Here I have an example of how I created the variable u that can be used outside of the uh, my function definition. To change the value of a global variable inside a function, refer to the variable using the global keyword x. Okay, so here when I assign a new value to the global variable, immediately the variable will change. Now both of the global variable and the local variable will be assigned with the same string, which is fantastic. Right, so this is just a simple test, uh, an exercise to assign a string Volvo to a car name and print it out. This is another example of data type differences. So this is just to see whether Python would need some sort of declaration if we assign an integer value to a variable. But as simple as it seems, in Python they make it easy for you, so you can immediately assign any value to the variables and Python will do it for you. So thank you very much. So that's it for this exercise. We'll continue on our next exercise later. Alright, thank you very much.